Good afternoon. My name is Roy Kirchner, and we are live on LinkedIn at noon. We've been doing this every Friday at noon, and today we actually have a different one of our different speakers in, or one of our different coaches, because this is six secrets for success in 2025. So I'm going to give you a little bit of intro on myself. Roy Kirchner, serial entrepreneur, own a few different companies. And really, my main company I've had for about 10 years, grew it extremely fast. Was in Tampa Bay, Florida. I was the top out of the top 50 fastest growing companies. I was number six in 2021 and number 22 in 22. Also got picked up by Grow Florida as a top tech company to watch. And literally, just want to feed out as much information as I can with knowledge to help anybody and everybody try to succeed more. So I'm going to push it over to Spencer.
I'm Spencer Beaudreault. I am the co-founder and partner at Flying Go Agency. We are based in Tampa, Florida. Yeah, I'm just looking to shed some light on some of our successes and some tips to help everybody out there listening in.
And we're moving it over to Doug.
My name is Doug Hensel. I'm also known as DJ Fresh. I am a international DJ, and I have had an entertainment company for the last 24 years based out of Tampa Bay. But we do all different types of awesome events like, the Super Bowl with the NFL, Major League Baseball All-Star Break. We do the AMA Supercross Championship up in Daytona Speedway. And then we do a lot of big corporate events too with like Target and MasterCard Global and fun things like that. I'm also a partner in the Flying Goat Agency too as well. I'm also the chief revenue officer of a video game development company called PlayPals, where we develop games and immersive experiences on the Roblox platform, and serial entrepreneur as well. All things to kind of keep my ADHD at bay. And yeah, I'm happy to be here. So thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think one thing about being a serial entrepreneur has a little bit of, you just said it, ADHD, man, because I think that's like the literally the best. I think in school they frown upon it, but man, I don't think I'd ever be where I'm at today without everybody's gonna have, yeah, as a successful entrepreneur, I feel like everybody has a little bit of ADHD.
Yeah. I was the
So
pen tapper. I was just tapping the pen, the pencil constantly, and then I'm always
the leg guy.
always getting yelled at. And I was like, what's going on? And I couldn't figure it out. Then as you get older, you learn to hone in, you learn to lean into that, right? And how to use it to your abilities to find success, right?
Yep.
So
And as we get older, they create fidget spinners. Fun. Oh, you know what I mean? So, today, one of our first topics is going to be employee retention. And I'm going to kind of say it a little bit different. I'm going to say team member retention because I don't ever like to say that I'm a boss of a company. I hate that word. I feel like I'm a leader of a team and I have team members. I love to say it that way because I think growing up in my first job, I think the biggest thing that I saw was a guy said, like, I'm your boss. I determine your life. And I really didn't like that. And nobody determines anybody's life, right? It comes down to if you're in the right workplace, right? And you're in the right environment, it comes down to having somebody that is a leader, right? The captain of a ship. But it's the captain can only do so much. It really comes down to every single person that's part of his team, right? And that's the biggest and most important thing because in order for a business to grow bigger, stronger, better, it really comes down to everybody, a synergy of an entire team working together. Everybody knows what they need to do, how they need to do it, and really focus in together on growing each other, right? So one of the secrets that I'll tell you is if you're in an environment where you're working with a team, understand that you may know something, but your team member may not, right? And I think one of the things that I learned early in being a successful entrepreneur is I taught my team members, right? If they knew something, don't just do it. Like, take a little bit of extra time and literally teach the person next to you because it's redundancy too. Like, you want everybody to grow and you want everybody to get stronger, but you also want to pour in knowledge into everybody to become more as well, right? So I mean, those are some of it, but I'm gonna pass it over to Spencer and let's keep this going.
Yeah, no, so employee retention is super important. It's crucial, right? Like any entrepreneur, any business owner, throughout their path and their journey, they've, kind of been that solopreneur, right? Even myself, right? I was a marketing consultant. I kind of did my own thing. I had my own book of business. But then at a certain point, you're the bottleneck. Like you can only do so much as one person. So in order to really scale and level up a business, you need to have a team. You need to have the right team members. You need to have them in the right positions. And you need to have employee retention, right? You need to be able to retain those team members. So it's very important, in my mind, to have a great culture within the organization, within the business that is healthy for everybody to succeed and to grow, right? So, one of the things that, Doug and I talk about on a very frequent basis is, like we want to build people up, right? We want to build people up from within. So, like as we hire on, how do we give that person more, responsibility? How do we teach them more skills and build them up to be a stronger asset and person within our organization, within our business, right? And I think there's a lot of different ways you can do that. One of the ways, and we've talked to one of our employees in the past about doing some type of like furthering education, right? Does this person want to excel in graphic design? What are the tools that we can put in place for this person to really level up their skill set with graphic design, right? And I think that's very important for businesses to keep in mind as you're scaling, as you're leveling up, and as you're retaining these employees, because I feel like that culture and that mindset and that growth mindset is very, very important for employee retention.
Yeah, I think, Roy, this is the first time you and I have actually like hung out in person, and you absolutely nailed it. With basically saying, I hate the boss word. I hate anytime somebody tries to assert power over somebody else. We're all on this team together. If this team does not work hand in hand together, we can't have success. Every single person has their job, their description, what it is that they're doing to bring it into the common goal of, of what we're doing here, right? But nature and nurture your team members, right? Always have an open door. When I was, from when I was younger, managing a Play It Again sports franchise, and I had, 10 employees or whatever, to, now my entertainment company. I've got 12 DJs and producers that are across the country, in molding them and giving them the tools that they need to maybe switch from being a club DJ to now going and making quadruple the amount of money because now they're doing big corporate events, right? And changing their complete landscape of their whole entire life, right? Because, if you're a club DJ, you're only making X amount of money, a few $100s a night, staying out till 3 o'clock in the morning, not getting home till 3:30, 4 in the morning, where you could go do a corporate gig, make $1,500, $2,000 in 4 hours. And that's how much you would have made in a whole week doing 4 nights of club DJing, right? Or with our video game development company, allowing our developers to come to us and say, "Hey guys, I have this idea about coding. I have this idea on this back end, or I have this and that, this idea about this environment. What do you guys think?" Now, if we shut them down right away, they're not going to be happy. They're not going to feel like they have a chance to grow. They're going to be miserable. So we've always had this open door mindset, and like you said, we're all a team. We're a team member. We're the team member is what you said, right? Like not the employees, not the boss, not that. Like I think breaking that mold and investing in people. I've always, been a big fan of investing in people because people are what can create the culture. Like I'm a live event host on HSN, right? And I represent national and global brands on air. And the culture that we had when I first started over there was absolutely amazing. It was like, it's fun here. It was printed up everywhere on the walls, very bright colors. You went in and you're representing these major billion-dollar brands. And, why wouldn't you have fun with it? Why wouldn't you go the extra mile and really do the research on that brand to live with that brand, own that brand so you can go represent that brand. So I think it goes a long way too, not just with employees, but it's really a mindset. And if you have the right mindset, you'll have success. If you have the wrong mindset, it's going to be very, very hard for you to find success in that fashion.
Yeah, and I think like the why is a big thing as well. I remember, in different parts of my life where I was an employee, right? A lot of times, my boss or employer would tell me, something to do, and I never, they would never really explain the why, right? Like the deeper meaning behind like exactly what I'm doing, and I think, that's important, from our standpoint as a marketing agency. Like I really want our employees to understand the why behind certain things, because even if it's a task that they hate doing, they understand the deeper meaning behind it. So it helps them understand that, okay, yeah, this is important. Even though I hate doing it, it's something that I need to do to better the company, to better myself, and all of us to grow. So I think, just as you were speaking, I was kind of thinking about, different things. And I think, really being transparent to employees about the why, the deeper meaning with all the different things that they're tasked to do, I think is important as
And
well.
when he says employees, he really means team.
Team, yes, yes.
But that's the crazy part, right? We've had this so embedded in our brain that it's employees, or I'm a boss, or I'm a boss babe, or I'm a this or that, right? All these, words, right? But it's how you build your culture, and it's how, we as leaders, right? As business leaders who are leading a team or leading a company are always having to reinvent. If you're not reinventing, you're dying. It's the Blockbuster and Netflix mentality, right? And, you're always having to retrain your brain too to make sure that you're saying the right things, doing the right things, leading by example so that your team members, right, look at you and go, wow, I want to be like that. I want to be a leader like that one day. I may not be ready right now, but by being at this company, by being a part of this team, by knowing that my team leader, my leader, the person who is the CEO or CMO or CFO or whatever, allows me to have an open door, allows me to express my ideas. That's what everybody, I mean, that's the best situation you could possibly be in.
Yeah.
So whether you're watching this and you're, just an executive assistant, whether you aspire to have a C-level position one day, it's those things that you should look for to be in that type of situation, because that's how you're going to find growth, and that's how you're going to find success way faster and way quicker than in a traditional situation where you wouldn't.
Yeah, and I think the thing is that we always have to remember as leaders, right? And again, you just kind of said it. We're trained in our brain to say employees, boss. You gotta retrain yourself, right? And a lot of it was just me over the time realizing to be better, to actually be better. I needed to realize like everybody has their place, right? Everybody has their ability to speak, because it comes down to everybody has knowledge, right? And you really want that open communication, because you could have somebody that I'll never forget. Like I used to be in the car business, right? And I'll never forget we had a literally everybody meeting, right? Every single person in the dealership, every employee or every team member, whatever you want to call it, and they were asking, "How do we make this place better?" And all of a sudden, this guy in the very corner of the room, you couldn't even see him, right? He starts talking, right? He starts talking, and everybody's mouth is like dropping with what he's saying. Next thing you know, he was the lot porter making minimum wage, the guy that moves cars,
Yeah.
right? And this guy's saying better stuff than anybody else in the room, and I'm talking there's like 50 people in the room. And like it's the job right, of the general manager of the dealership or the owner of the dealership to recognize that that guy should not be a lot porter, right?
Right.
Shouldn't be moving cars. He needs to be doing
Promote him ASAP.
Yeah.
promote him ASAP. And that's the whole mentality here is you have to remember times are changing, right? They're always changing. We had a gigantic, enormous change with COVID, right? And the thing to be a better leader of a team, you always have to remember change is always happening. So one of the biggest things that even I went to a conference probably 2 weeks ago, and it was literally talking about the well-being of everybody in the work environment, right? Like start doing things, and it could be even like bring in bananas, bring in healthier things, right? Have the ability to have like I know some of these like tech companies, these big tech companies. I'm not even joking. Like some of the stuff they were saying with them, like they're paying for like an Uber from their house to the office. They're bringing in like a Michelin star chef to make them lunch, right? Because they want to keep them over, like Meta wants to keep them over them going to Google, or Google wants to keep them over going to Microsoft, right? So they're treating them like top CEOs, top like what a top CEO C-level guy would have. So I think it's that. I think the other thing is it's the most important thing I would probably say it was interesting. I got a call, and I want to kind of share this. I got a call. Um, Somebody had seen me on LinkedIn, seen some of my videos, and she asked me, could she give me a call, and she wanted to get some advice, right? And she called me up. Not going to say her name, but she called me up and she said she was an executive assistant for two owners of a company, right? And she had been in the position for like 3 years, right? And she just felt like it was a dead end job, right? She goes, they even sent me overseas to like learn all this stuff. And then when I came back, they wouldn't even let me implement it. And she's, like, so frustrated. She's like, "I love what I do every single day." So that was the key, the first thing in my head. I was like, "Wow." She said she loves what she did,
Right.
which is important. That's
Yeah.
huge
Yeah.
because that's another big issue that everybody has to realize, whether whatever position you're in. If you don't love what you're doing every single day, you need to stop doing it, and you need to figure out what is going to make you happy because life is short, right? And there's too many people that are they're uncomfortable, or they're uncomfortable, right? And they're scared of change,
And the stuck.
and they're stuck. And the number one thing you got to realize in this world, right, is you need to be okay with being uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable every single day. You got to be
Welcome to entrepreneurship.
Yes. All right.
exactly. So this lady, she said, she goes, I've kind of tried to talk to um the owners. And so I did a little bit of reverse psychology on it, right? And she goes, I said, I'm gonna give you some advice. It's kind of like a reverse psychology. I said, what you need to do is write a letter of intent, right, to the owners, and take time writing this letter of intent. Tell them who you are, what you do every single day. You're capable of doing more. You're capable of helping them achieve more. I don't care if it's 20 pages, right? But I mean, jot down the more time, effort, and consideration you take in this letter of intent, and the more that you pour into this letter of intent, the more they're going to see that because you've already tried to have a conversation with them, right? But I said, take it. If it takes you 6 months to make this thing, it's okay because you've been there for 3 years. Sure, like, thought what investing. But I said, and I don't think it's gonna take that long, but I said, bottom line is you really need to jot down. It's like she said, like, they don't see everything I do every single day. So, okay, put that in this, right? Put that you actually sent me to training and we can put this in to better the company and do this. And I said, pour in everything, pour in whatever it is. And lastly, if it's, if, because some people, it comes down to money as well, and her whole thing was she needed money, didn't want money. So this was another thing. She needed money, but didn't want money. And people are like, what's need money and don't but doesn't want money. She needs money because cost of living has gone up,
Sure.
right? Cost of living has gone up. So she actually needs more money, not because she wants more money. She actually needs it because
She needs to survive.
she's
To
just
survive. Yeah.
I mean, car insurance is more
Yeah.
expensive. House, shoot, my HOA doubled this year in
Yeah.
my area. So I mean, it's constantly going up. So in some ways, you need money. You don't want it. But I said, explain that in this. Don't explain. Like, actually write out that you need money, and these are the reasons why I need money because cost of living has gone up. But don't just say like I want a raise or like that's it. But
Right.
that's what a lot of people do, right? So imagine doing reverse psychology on somebody like me, an owner, right? A CEO of a company, and somebody putting down that has worked for me like 20 pages and I actually sit there and read it. Is it going to make a gigantic difference? It is, right? It's going to make an unbelievable difference compared to somebody walking in my office and demanding a raise.
Sure.
And sometimes speaking, you can't get out everything you want,
Sure.
right? And especially like you can't. So I did this, and we'll see where it goes. But I gave this to her, and I think it's gonna help tremendously.
So you don't have an end to the story yet.
Don't have it in.
All right. Well, now we're invested. Okay. So now we need to follow up. So do not forget to tell us what happened to woman A that wrote you on LinkedIn, because now I want to know. But yeah, it's
I wanted to share that advice because I think it's good for everybody to understand.
yeah, and I think a lot of people, a lot of people too, they just don't have anybody to ask. They don't have a mentor. They don't have a good friend that um, could help guide them, because maybe their friends are on that same kind of playing field, right? Maybe those friends don't have that level of job. Maybe their friends are kind of stuck in their rut. Maybe their friends are just kind of on autopilot with a career, and they're fine with that. That's what they're going to do for the next 20, 30, 40 years. But yeah, I think, it's great to step outside the box. And one thing too is it's always okay to ask for help. Even if you're reaching out to somebody on LinkedIn, which we love. And before Spencer and I partnered up, Spencer and I have been friends for a long time. I I was never a LinkedIn guy.
Yeah.
I've been very lucky and fortunate to grow my companies and my businesses from the ground up, organically, referral based, word of mouth. I've never advertised a day in my life for my entertainment company. I've never said, "Hey, hire DJ Fresh Events for this or this or that." It's always come from going above and beyond for my clients, putting on an amazing show, whatever I do, performing extremely well. And then other CEOs, CMOs, decision makers, or clients will call me and go, "Hey, you were amazing at this event. I want to hire you for this." Absolutely, 100%. But it's little things too, these little nuances. And when I go and I speak and I go to high schools or colleges, or I talk, I'm like, big,
Sometimes.
you know,
Yeah, and job of everything is gonna be anything you
wound up organically refer guy.
Yep.
I've been very lucky and fortunate to grow my companies and my businesses from the ground up, organically, referral based. Two is it's
advice because I think it's good for everybody to understand.
yeah, and I think a lot of
Sometimes speaking, you can't get out everything you want,
Sure.
right? Especially on somebody like me. I mean, it's constantly going up. So you, in some ways, you need money. You don't want it. But I said,
Sure.
explain that in this. Don't explain, like, actually write out that you need money. And these are the reasons why I need money because cost of living has gone up. But don't just say, like, I want a raise or like that's it.
Right.
That's what a lot of people do, right? So imagine doing reverse psychology on somebody like me, an owner, right? A CEO of a company, and somebody putting down that has worked for me like 20 pages and I actually sit there and read it. Is it going to make a gigantic difference? It is, right? It's going to make an unbelievable difference compared to somebody walking in my office and demanding a raise.
Sure.
And sometimes speaking, you can't get out everything you want,
Sure.
right? Especially like you can't. So I did this, and we'll see where it goes. But I gave this to her, and I think it's going to help tremendously.
So you don't have an end to the story yet.
Don't have a
All right. Well, now we're invested. Okay. So now we need to follow up. To do not forget to tell us what happened to woman A that wrote you on LinkedIn, because now I want to know. But yeah,
I wanted to share that advice because I think it's good for everybody to understand.
yeah, and I think, a lot of people, a lot of people too, they just don't have anybody to ask. They don't have a mentor. They don't have a good friend that um, could help guide them because maybe their friends are on that same kind of playing field, right? Maybe those friends don't have that level of job. Maybe their friends are kind of stuck in their rut. Maybe their friends are just kind of on autopilot with a career and they're fine with that. That's what they're going to do for the next 20, 30, 40 years. But yeah, I think, it's great to step outside the box. And one thing too is it's always okay to ask for help even if you're reaching out to somebody on LinkedIn, which we love. And before Spencer and I partnered up, Spencer and I have been friends for a long time. I I was never a LinkedIn guy.
Yep.
I've been very lucky and fortunate to grow my companies and my businesses from the ground up organically, referral based, word of mouth. I've never advertised a day in my life for my entertainment company. I've never said, "Hey, hire DJ Fresh Events for this or this or that." It's always come from going above and beyond for my clients, putting on an amazing show, whatever I do, performing extremely well. And then other CEOs, CMOs, decision makers, or clients will call me and go, "Hey, you were amazing at this event. I want to hire you for this." Absolutely, 100%. But it's little things too, these little nuances. And when I go and I speak and I go to high schools or colleges or I talk, I'm like, be excited when you're talking to people. If I'm on the phone with you and you just have this monotone, I don't care if that's your personality, and you just are unexcited about having a conversation with me, I am not going to be excited about working with you.
That energy feeds off.
I am not going to be excited about hiring you. When I constantly have to raise my prices, right? Because I deserve it and I am on an upper echelon of level of providing the services that I provide. It's like people get off the phone with me, and they're like, "It was so awesome talking to you. Thank you so much. I'm fired up about this and that." Or where can we send the deposit to book you for this? Blah blah blah. I want to excite people. There's so much negativity going on. So, talking about the employees, right? Team member retention, that kind of thing. It's like, are you the excited team member or are you the unexcited team member? Are you the positive team member? I've had to fire one of my best friends years ago because he was a DJ. He had the most amazing gig that I teed up for him. And all he had to go in there and do was smile and go in there and rock out. It was a New Orleans style party bar, packed every single night, making top tier money. And his problem is that he had that type of personality that he went in and the bartender's like, "Hey, DJ so and so, what's going on?" He's like, "Yeah, man, I'm just so tired, blah, blah, blah. It was a long day, blah, blah." Ain't nobody want to hear that stuff. I was going to say, yeah, I don't know what I can say, but and I got complaint after complaint after complaint. And I had to talk to him like, "Dude, do you understand the position you're in? Do you understand that you get to play music and make all these people forget about their problems and their worries and their bills and the fact that they just broke up with their girlfriend or their boyfriend? They're here to socialize. They're here to release all of those problems and those worries. And you're coming in here bitching and complaining about stuff." I had to fire him. I had to fire my best friend because he just couldn't get it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Look, dude, sorry. We are the tastemakers. We are the vibe setters. We are the music curators. And if you can't get behind that, can't get out of your own head and can't flip that mentality, like me, I go in and I go up to bartender A, 'Hey girl, how are you? High five. Hey, what anything you want to hear tonight?' 'Oh my gosh. Yeah, play give me some Rihanna." Done. "Hey, bartender B, what's up? How you doing? You feeling good? All right. What do you want to hear tonight? What can I play for you tonight?" I just got every single one of those staff members on my side. They're going to be talking about me. I don't give a shit if I had the worst DJ set of the night. They don't care because I just catered to them, made them feel appreciated, made them feel a part of the team, which we all are, right? In nightlife and hospitality. But that mentality goes so far, and thanking people, too, as well, before and after, whatever you're doing. Like when I'm on air at HSN and there's a bunch of production assistants, there's camera operators, there's this, that. I'm like, "Hey guys, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Thank you. That was fun."
And they're like,
it's
that communication.
when you validate somebody. It took me a while to do that, right? But it's actually like here when I go up to somebody, even like just put your hand like on their shoulder and be like, "Thank you so much for what you do every single day."
Yeah.
Like from the leader,
Right.
it means a lot.
Because it's in the heart.
Yeah.
And it's pure. It's genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like one of the craziest things, and I'll Spencer to talk a little bit here, but one of the craziest things that I did, and I talked about this on a panel, right? They said, how do you get like your whole team to come together, right? How do you get them to come together? And people were talking about stuff, and then all of a sudden it was my turn to say, and I said, I bought a grill and put it out, and we go and we grill.
Yeah.
We grill.
What brings everybody together?
Food, man. But yeah, if I could grill too, like we like literally we were like, okay, think about it.
Yep.
How many different hamburgers can you buy, right?
Yeah.
How many different brands can you buy?
Yeah.
So we would like literally say, okay, somebody we're having this brand. Is this better than this brand?
Sure.
Oh, is this steak from Sprouts better than the steak from Publix? Right. And it brings people together. And everybody in the audience, they were just like, wow, simple $200 grill. I didn't hire an expert to come in. I bought a freaking grill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hopefully it was a Blackstone flat top. Shout out to Blackstone.
The plug. I love the plug. Exactly.
Nah, I think like, and a lot of, what I talked to Doug about when we kind of brain jam on like, how do we improve our company and all that type of stuff, I go back to like a book that I read not too long ago called Extreme Leadership. It's Jocko Willink, military guy. He's big on Rogan and everything like that. But the whole premise of that book is like over communication, right? And he speaks on how like the Navy SEALs will go into these like, crazy missions, and in order to really execute like that mission efficiently, like there's just so much over communication from like every person every step of the way. And I think that's it's very important in terms of like team building and execution and keeping the morale up, because there's a lot of times like within companies and businesses where not everything's fun and exciting, right? Like not everything is,
And it always sunshine and rainbows.
right, exactly. So like how do you, like when you're dealing with something that's just, maybe boring as hell, or it's just not, it's maybe some like mundane type of work, but how do you keep that team morale up? And I think, over communication with, every step of the way, right? Like even, kind of circling back to what I was saying earlier about like the why, right? Like over communicating about that why, so people understand like all of the little nuances about like what we're doing and what we're trying to do in each like given,
Well, they say like now, it was just yesterday, and I want to bring it up because you just said it. Somebody said in personal branding, right?
Yeah.
When somebody hears you, like let's say on Instagram or LinkedIn, they need to hear it 27 times from you to realize that you have this certain niche.
Yeah.
Like you're a consultant, right?
Exactly.
But they need to constantly hear it 27 times. It's the same thing as being a leader in
Yeah.
a team, right? You gotta constantly have to
Train and retrain.
drill it. Yeah, and just go over the objective,
Yeah.
right? Like we're on a mission.
Yeah.
This is the mission.
Right.
Then let's not veer off of that mission, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's great that way, right? So one of a big hack I can give to anybody, and I've said it before on LinkedIn here, and I've said it on this live, but I want to reiterate it, right? And I think this is for anybody, but I'm gonna go into employee retention because that's the topic here, is when you get up in the morning, get up, right? And this is just a secret. This is something like I created, right? I go and I immediately turn on YouTube like a motivational video. Like Denzel Washington, Matthew McConaughey, nobody's up to
Oh, you're hitting two of the
I'm
goats.
I'm hitting like bam. And
Kobe Bryant.
automatically Kobe Bryant.
You had a mentality.
Anybody that is going to pour where my day is starting good. Right?
Yeah.
And then what happens, right, is I'm married, but you could have a girlfriend, you could have a roommate. You could not have anybody at your house, but it's going to be the first person you see. If you're in a good mood, you're going to automatically put the next person in a good mood.
100%.
Say, like, if I'm in a good mood, as soon as my wife wakes up, right, I'm going to be like, hey, because I'm already in that motivational thing. So the other part of that, the biggest part as a leader of a team that a leader needs to recognize, right? And it took me a while to recognize this. And I can always say there's faults, right? We all
Sure.
have faults, right? But I realized if somebody is not in the right frame of mind to come to work, if they're not in a positive light, they need to notify me, right? And they need to tell me, like, listen, I need to take a day because they're going to come in and that's going to spread.
Oh
And
yeah.
the biggest thing that I had to realize too, right, is if I'm not in the right fit,
Yeah.
I don't need to come in
Right.
because all as a leader,
Oh yeah.
that's going to spread. And most people are like, no, you got to be at work and you got to be here and, you got to have attendance. It's not, listen, if somebody's not in the right frame of mind, right? If something happened in their life, right,
Sure.
that put them, that they're just not getting over it, or something happened, right? A friend was just in a car accident on the way to work. I want her to call. I want my employee to call
Sure.
or my team member to call me and be like, listen, there's a bad situation. I'm not in the right frame of mind. And I'd be like, that's 100% okay, right? Because we all as a team can help each other. We can cover for that person,
Sure.
right? And we can make sure that that culture stays every single day. And I think that's one of the biggest things.
I think obviously that's massive and that's huge. And I think, you know, it's those I'll call that a Royism. Okay. So that Royism, right, is what really truly defines the top tier leaders from not top tier leaders, right? I'm also going to challenge you on that too, because there are also instances where you have to be a leader and do things the opposite way because you don't have the ability to not have that team member come in. That team member has to still come in. That team member has a deadline they have to meet. There is nobody else that can handle that, right? Per se, right? For us with the entertainment side and with our video game development side, sometimes we have to sit there and have a motivational powwow and spend more time with them and retrain their brain for that period of time and say, listen, I understand that you have the flu. I understand that you have these family situations going on. I understand that you're going through a divorce. I understand. But let me tell you something. You have an opportunity right now to do this job, gig, complete this task, whatever it may be. If you don't do this, there is not somebody else that can do it for you, which means we could potentially lose the client, which means the gig won't happen, which means all hell is going to break loose. Okay. And it's going to cause a bigger, huge, more negative ripple effect. So I need you to dig down deep and I need you to put, and this is hard, this is a very big mental, like, this is probably one of the most toughest things that people can do, but it's fight or flight, right? It's, can I set aside my personal shit to, for the greater good of this task, of this gig, of this mission that we're on right now for the next 2, 3 hours, and put on that happy face, put on that smile, grab that microphone, get on the turntables, rock that party. Or with our developers, can I lock in? Can I get my task done of what I need to, maybe I'm building an environment, right? And get this mountain scenescape developed and done, or these character designs done, so that now I can pass that on to the next person. And then you can go, and then you can go handle your stuff, or you can go cry in a room, or you can go get whatever you need to get done. And that's the hardest part.
I'm gonna hit you right here, man, because dude, I love this because it's like you just made me think of something, right? That I want to do now, right? Because I have a team. And it's what you just said. If you bring that up, like if I brought it up now when nobody has issues, right? But I would say like if this happens, like we gotta have our game face on, right? If you bring it up that way, but you bring it up at a different time. 100% like if you bring it up with
Everybody's good. Yeah.
bring it up, everybody's good
Sure.
in the moment, then it's amazing. But it's interesting what you're saying because one of the biggest things is you don't hear a lot about it, right? The only time I really hear about that what you're saying, right, is in sports, right? Like somebody, like a football team,
Sure.
the guy, his wife, they like, wife has to have surgery or the mother-in-law has to have surgery, and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he's here playing the game. But he does play the game,
Sure.
right? He gets it done. He mentally pushes it out.
Right.
He gets it done. And it's mental toughness. It's 100% mental toughness.
Yeah.
It really comes in that's life.
Yeah.
Mental toughness is something that the better mental toughness you have, and the big boys talk about this all the time.
Sure.
A lot of big guys talk about having mental toughness.
I was just at an event with Tom Brady and Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
And they were our keynotes at this 2-day corporate event with one of our big corporate clients in Orlando. And listening to them speak and hearing about the mental toughness and hearing about persevering and hearing about putting your shit aside for the greater good of the team.
Yep.
Nobody cares how you feel. Nobody cares what you have going on in your life because you are there to do a job or a task or win a game or whatever. So you have to, you have to really dig down deep. I remember I had a 105-degree fever and I'm throwing up in a DJ booth in a bucket while I'm doing this big corporate event with 1,000 people, like 1,100 people at this event. Because who was I going to call in sick to? Myself?
It's a Jordan flu game.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But you know what? I rocked that party. I made sure everybody had a good time and nobody could tell because I didn't make a big deal about it. I didn't sit there and ask for a pity party. Because nobody cares. I'm there to entertain everybody. I'm there to set the tone. So if I went in, imagine if I went in, I was like, hey guys, I'm really sick. I don't feel good, blah, blah, blah. I'm sweating, blah, blah, blah. I'd been down behind the DJ booth. I got some napkins. I wiped the sweat off my face. Go back. Y'all having a good time? Let's go. Blah, blah. But nobody could tell because the show must go on, right? And when I was listening to Tom Brady talk, he's like, every day the coaches coming up, high school, college, they kept passing on me. They kept putting me off and putting me off, right? Because I wasn't to that standard. They didn't think of me as in that whatever. He goes, all of a sudden I had this mindset where I'm going to go in and I'm going to play every single game like it's my last game. Every single game like it's the Super Bowl. Every single game, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to give 1,000% when everybody else is giving 110%. And hearing his story, and I'm just like, I've never been so lit up inside and fired up. And then Mark Wahlberg talking about all the mistakes he made in the past, and he was a fighter and a scrapper and all this stuff and going through the legal stuff and then snapping out of it. And, he's an amazing Christian who puts his story out there and he's not afraid to tell it. And, hearing that he's like, I'm not going to let anybody go out and get that movie role. I'm not going to let anybody go out. I'm not going to let anybody outwork me. He goes, I'm up when everybody's still sleeping at 4 a.m. and I start getting after it. And then I get all my positive stuff done out of the way. And then I've still got 3 hours before anybody else wakes up on their normal 9 to 5. And I went, damn, dude, I'm just getting home at 4 a.m. and you're getting up. But just hearing those mentalities fired me up because they are not going to let anything mentally deter them from getting that job done. And that Navy SEAL stuff is right. I've never been a military guy, but I have so much respect for what these guys have to go through because, imagine being shot at. Imagine being pinned down in a foxhole. Imagine having to just survive.
So many stressors.
But that's the mentality you have to have in life and in business and in entrepreneurship to find success.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to find that success if you're whining and you're complaining and you're letting people see it on your face. A lot of it is just not having a smile. You walk into a room and you're not even smiling. Like, are people attracted to you?
Yeah. I think everybody gets it in different ways. Like you found it in this way. Like for me, the way I found it, right? The way I 100% found it is my mom raised me and my sister, single parent mom, worked 3 jobs, right? She just did it.
Yeah.
Like whatever she could do to provide the best
Survival.
like fixed thing, like literally not enough money was working 3 jobs,
Sure.
right? And I know that I graduated high school with the 4th grade reading level, right? I literally couldn't read or write when I graduated high school. I hardly even graduated high school. Like it was kind of like fake, right? And I knew I was never going to go to college, right? But I knew I was destined to be successful because I wanted to help my mom.
Yeah.
I wanted to help my mom, right? And I
That was your why.
The
that
why
was my
part.
one,
Yeah.
right? And I think it was next thing is I had that fighter mentality. And then I got into the car business and started selling cars. Well, guess what? It's kind of like you. If you don't show up, you ain't getting paid. If you ain't selling,
Yep.
like this is you got to sell.
Yeah.
And salespeople, I think, already have it, right?
Sure.
Salespeople, if you ain't selling, you ain't making no money.
Right.
No money. So like it's a
Then you get devoted to the lot porter.
yeah. But Spence, go ahead and kick it over to you, brother.
Yeah, no, I mean, as you guys were kind of speaking, I was just thinking of some other like, kind of ideas, and it's kind of like a little segue into, maybe our next topic, on AI, right? Like, and recently I've been thinking about, how can I make, in terms of like team retention, team member retention, like how do I also make that person's life and job and tasks easier? Right. And we had talked about like systems and processes and like, that whole thing. Like, how can I literally like where, maybe this task is pretty complicated and they have to use a lot of creativity and think outside the box. And, it could, if you don't have systems and processes, like that could just be very sporadic and erratic. Like, so how do you make their life easier with the tasks that they are, supposed to be performing, right? And what we do like on the marketing side, like, I'll kind of give an example, even in terms of like social media management for clients, right? How do we leverage AI to make that job and that task quicker and easier so that employee, that team member is not miserable doing it, right? And like some of what we do is, we'll take a video that we shoot for a client, we'll pump it into a transcription type of machine, right? Get the transcript, then pump it into Chat GPT, and then Chat GPT kind of does its thing and puts together a caption, and then we, put our 2 cents in to kind of clean it up and mold it. And then we bring it over here to this system and this scheduling program, we put it in here. And then, right. So I've literally teed up that entire process A to Z for that, for that team member, that employee to then go execute. Right. Now, if I just said, hey, I need you to come up with a caption and I need you to schedule this post for a client, that is a very vague type of way to task that person with this, right? But if you're like, hey, I came up with a very efficient system for you to go ahead and execute this, now I made your job easier, and now it's like, yeah, you're gonna have to do that for 30 videos, and it gets, believe me, it's so annoying and it's very, very time consuming. However, if you cut that workload down by like 60%, right? You made their life easier. And I think that is one little element that helps with team member retention, is when your company, your organization has efficient systems to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, and you're not trying to overwork your team members,
Yeah.
right? You're trying, if you're a leader, a true leader, and this is one thing that Spence is really good at, right? Like SOPs, standard operating procedures, right? Like blah 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 blah. Probably every day we talk about this, right? Every day.
Important.
We're all, yeah, we're always tweaking and trying to be better, right? As a company overall. Uh, but yeah, I mean, anytime that your team members see that you are going above and beyond to try to make the systematic processes easier and cleaner and quicker and effective so that they don't get burnt out, so that they don't feel like it's just this mundane, like they don't come to work and they're like, "Oh, God, I gotta do the same thing again." Like,
Yeah.
you don't want that, right? Because then that's that negative, toxic kind of workplace mentality that starts festering, and then that person in the coffee break room goes and starts saying that to somebody else, and then it's the coconut telegraph, and just it's a chain effect, right? So yeah, I mean, but AI is just a crazy thing these days. It's evolving multiple times a day. There's always a new program, there's always a new this or that. People are testing and doing stuff, and yeah, it's Cyberdyne is almost here, man. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy because it brings me back to, I think, like you said, as we grow and get more experience, right, we become more knowledgeable, right? And I'll take it back, to 2021. So for me, it was literally before the country shut down. I was in a 1,900 square foot facility. I had 4 employees, and we were getting 7 to 10 calls a day. The country shut down. We went to 2 to 300 calls a day every day. I went from 4 employees to 38 employees, and I went from 1,900 square feet to occupying 65,000 square feet. There literally wasn't time for to create policies, procedures.
Sure.
You were like throwing bodies at it.
Everybody playing on the waves. Just go, go,
Go. Yeah.
And there was so many mistakes. I mean, just astronomical
Sure.
mistakes. I mean, I would hire somebody that was phenomenal, but they would leave because there's no processes,
Right.
right? You didn't even have time. Like you were just literally. I would come in and I would be at home and I would the night before and you're like, I want to accomplish this, this, and this the next day, right? And I would come in and people don't realize, right? You've got the accounting department. You've got the logistics department. You've got the marketing department. You got the e-commerce department. You got all these different departments. And the second I walk in, my head of those departments was standing. They were all lined up saying, we have an emergency, right? And there's a fire because, of course, we're just growing so
Sure.
fast and things. And it's my job at that point in time. My number one job was to find out which one was the worst fire, and let's put that out for
Yeah. So you just showed up every day with a fire extinguisher in your hand.
By the end of the day, by the end of the day, I didn't accomplish. It felt like I wasn't accomplishing anything except for putting out fires. And then the second part of it that I realized though too, is we came together kind of in this COVID area because we were so busy. The beautiful one thing, and we kind of just hit on it, is we were so busy that you didn't like it. You blink and the day was over.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
It was done. So, and it's always been that way. Like, I think if you have the right processes, the right procedures, the right things in place, the right team, you want a job where you blink and the day is over. Because if you're not that way all the time, you're literally not getting the results out of the team member that you actually want.
I call that counting the clock. You're just sitting there counting the clock just to. So I've got 40 minutes till 5 o'clock. It's like,
But it's
just
amazing
awful.
because it's amazing because there is no counting the clock. Because if you actually walked into like the owner, I've got a list of 100 gigantic, like so many things to do,
Mhm.
but people are counting the clock, but they're just not. Sometimes, like you said, they're not communicating. Saying,
Sure.
what else can I do to make
Right.
us better? And I say us again, not me.
Right.
All of us better, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to open your mouth and say, what can I do to make us better?
Sure.
What can I do to move us ahead? What can I do every single day? Like if you're counting the clock, again, you're at a job that you just don't love.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's what it comes down to.
100%.
So
Roy, I got a question. So, in terms of like AI, is there a specific way within your company and your organizations and everything that you do? Uh, like, is there a specific way that you utilize AI? Like, any specific programs that come front of mind, or like, a way that you kind of handle things that sticks out that you think would be valuable for other people?
yeah, I think we don't have a ton of time to really dig in. It's a big, gigantic topic.
Yeah.
But some of the things that I will say is last year I went and heard a guy speak, right, about AI. He was this is, a subject matter expert on AI, right? And some of the stuff was just, be honest with me, it was going over my head. Like he's talking and it's going in one ear and out the other because I don't understand what he's saying. But at the end, he says, does anybody have any questions? And I said, yeah, I've got questions.
What the heck did you just say for the last hour?
All right, that's it. How's it going to affect my life?
Right.
Yeah.
How's it going to affect my business?
Employees.
How's it going to affect my industries, the
Yeah.
industries that I'm in? And I need to know, do I need to hire somebody for AI?
Right.
Do I need to hire somebody for AI? Do I need to wake up and spend 2 hours in the morning on AI, like learning it? Like, because people are scared of AI.
Sure.
Right? Like that's the biggest thing is they're scared, right? And at that point in time, I'm being honest, I was scared too. And this guy's looking at me and he starts giving me some of the answers, right? And I was so glad because if not, I told him I was like gonna duct tape him to a chair and like suck it out of his brain.
Christ.
Because I'm like, dude, I like you earn for knowledge.
Sure.
Like if you're not a owner of a company earning for knowledge and
Yeah.
wanting to stay above the curve,
Sure.
or with the curve and all those, something's wrong, right?
You'll get left behind too. Yeah. Yeah.
So, the two things this guy gave me is he's like to stay up on AI, and I say this a lot, is there's a website called producthunt.com, right? And he said go to Product Hunt like every other day. And it kind of shows you all the companies that are getting into AI, right? And then the second thing was there's a newsletter that can come to you every day on AI called the Neuron, right? And he goes, Roy, if you just really start diving into the Neuron every single day and you start going to Product Hunt, and you lift your head up and just look at that stuff and start messing with it, it's going to bring you up, right? And it's not going to make you obsessed, but it's going to keep you there. And that's what I wanted to know, right? I wanted to know like where do I need to get the information? Where can I get the information?
Right.
Just can you give it to me, right? And when I started doing that last year, it tremendously helped, right? It tremendously helped. And then incorporating AI, it's interesting, right? So I mean, this is another thing. I just went to a conference 2 weeks ago, and the conference had BlackRock and Microsoft there. So not too bad, right? And
Only two of the companies that basically run the world. Yeah.
run the world. And they said right now, I think it was 150 to 180 million people in the world are using AI like chat every day.
Sure.
Like chat GTP, right? Gemini, Claude. Um, but there's 2.2 billion people using Google search,
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
right? So they automatically said the ones that are just using it now and learning, it's like seriously, and I'm going to say it, it's like they're going to 10x their income. Like they're going to be so ahead of the curve because think about it in the world, 150 to 180, that's not a lot.
Right.
It's not a lot at all,
Right.
right? So a lot of it is getting into it, right? And again, there's so much we can go into on this topic. We just won't have time today. But I think leaving the audience with saying, don't not do anything.
Sure.
Like get into it. Start going to
Start.
start.
Just start.
Yeah.
Just start. Start somewhere, somehow, some way.
And that's the whole thing. I get a lot of like everybody in this room. You guys can just say it after I say this, right? The number one thing you got to do in this world is start.
Yeah.
You just got to start. Like people say, well, I want to open this company, and I'm like, in 2 years, I'm like, just start, just do it.
Yeah.
Like just do it. I want to do social media. I want to
Yeah.
build my personal branding. I want to learn this. Just start.
I have this talk with my younger brother all the time because what he does is he'll and he's gonna hate me for this, but like he'll sit there and he'll overplan and overplan and overplan. I need to look into it more. I need to look in like you're over planning to procrastination. Like you're like trying to perfect something and solve these problems that you don't even know really exist yet. You might not even have these problems, or you might not you might face those problems, but have way bigger problems and way larger fires to put out along your journey. So, have faith in your ability to problem solve and solve these issues along the way. Like throw yourself to the wolves.
Yeah, and I'll say this too. I had a real big issue with this. I had a real big problem with that because I'm a perfectionist, right? I do have some sort of ADHD, something going on in there. I just haven't been diagnosed, right? And that was kind of my thing too. Is like, all right, well, let me research it more. Let me, I don't, let me do this, let me do that. And then on top of that, I was already busy. I already had multiple companies. So I'm already out there and I have a family. So how am I balancing all this, right? And then I was talking to an amazing, successful business guy who we became friends, and he was like, I forget what we were talking. We were talking about something, and he was like, write down 3 to 5 things that you would need to start. Like, how would you start this? How would you even start this? Right? Like, obviously, you need to start.
Oh.
What are 3 ways that, like, what are the first 3 things that you could possibly do? And let's just say it's like start a business, right? Okay, well, one, file for an LLC or just research the business name. Okay, let's just say research the business name, make sure nobody has it. Okay, well, there's first task. Okay, and then once you have the business name, then it's like file an LLC, go on Sunbiz and create. Okay, well, there's your second task, right? And then your third task, let's just say it's like design a logo or whatever it is, or hire a graphic designer to figure out a logo or whatever it is, or just sketch it. Just sketch it.
Yeah.
Sketch it out on a napkin, a piece of paper, whatever. Okay, boom. There's your 3 things. Well, now you have 3 steps to get you further down the road. And once you at least start those 3 steps, then you're on your way. Then you don't feel like you're nowhere.
It's not as overwhelming.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So at least, like my son the other day, Dad, I want to start a YouTube channel. Great. You've been talking about this for 6 months, bro. What are you doing? Well, I don't know. I'm just scared. Well, what do you need to do? You got videos? Okay, well, get some videos. Do you have a name? What are you going to call this thing? Think about those things, and then let's start. You can't just go and just create it, and you don't have. What are you going to put up?
Things that you just said, AI can pop out in like 1 minute. It's so right. So
Here's what I'm saying. Right now, we're at a different, point in our lives now to where we have an extra brain out there that can help us.
Mm-hmm.
That's AI.
Utilize it.
Utilize
Utilize it.
and then you can retrain it.
I talk to it like a therapist sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, hey, ChatGPT, I'm going through this. Any suggestions about blah, 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 right? And I
My
talk.
neighbor's driving me crazy. How can I do this?
Yeah, I got to get arrested right next door. Like, what do I do? Like, so, right, dude. So,
Yes, he calls me and he's like, bro, if I hear,
oh my God, that's exactly how it sounds like at 5 different
like,
points.
you just gotta throw like a boot or like a shoe and just off like Son-in-Law the movie.
But I even like, to what you were saying about how many people actually like use and search on Google, I actually use ChatGPT as the Google, right? And it's getting so much better. Like every month they dump so many funds and money into AI and machine learning that it's like every month it's getting so much better. I think even like the stock market went crazy with the DeepSeek stuff, and all that. Like they're finding ways to really improve this. So I'll even go on ChatGPT to like look for specific search results, because if I go on Google and I do that, yeah, like I'll get the certain stuff, but it might give me, like, because of SEO, it might give me random things that don't really apply, and I don't, or it could be a blog. But if I go on ChatGPT, it'll give me that very fine, specific, maybe top 3 sites to go reach out to. So yeah.
all right, well,
We're gonna need part 2 and 3.
yeah, I saw it today. Listen, thank you so much for tuning in. This is why we do this, is for you guys. Like, we literally want to help anybody and everybody we possibly can grow and get bigger. We're going to be doing this every Friday at noon. So just know you can always tune in. We're going to be growing it too, from LinkedIn to Instagram to TikTok to Facebook Live, and then YouTube, everything. But I appreciate it. If there's any questions you have for any of us, you can leave it in the chat below, and we'll be sure to answer them. But thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Appreciate it.